This is help identifying a, b, and c in a quadratic function. When you're asked to identify these coefficients, these numbers, you need to make sure the equation's in standard form first. So it's going to look something like this, where the term with the x squared comes first, the term with the x comes second, and the constant at the end is the final term, and everything's set equal to 0. Your a is always the coefficient in front of the x squared, b is always the coefficient in front of the x, and c is going to be the constant at the end. So if we look at a couple problems, the first one is x squared plus 9 equals 7. In this case, we want to first make sure it's in standard form, so everything is to one side of the equal sign. So we'll subtract 7 from both sides. 2x squared plus 2 equals 0. Then a is going to be the coefficient in front of the x squared, which is 2. B is the coefficient in front of the x, which in this case there isn't an x term, so b is 0. And c is the constant at the end, so again, the 2. We look at the next one. First, we need to put everything into standard form. Right now, the easiest thing to move would be the 13x squared. Make sure it's on the opposite side with all of the other terms. And we get negative 13x squared plus 4x minus 3 equals 0. So then a is the coefficient in front of the x squared, negative 13. B is the coefficient in front of the x, and c is the constant at the end, or the negative 3. The last one, you do not have to move all of your terms over to the left-hand side of the equation. Sometimes it's just easier to move everything to the right-hand side. And then we get 0 equals 7x squared minus 10x minus 5. In which case we know our a is 7 because it's in front of the x squared. B is negative 10. Make sure you bring the negative sign or the minus sign with it. And the c is negative 5. Now in this case you could have moved the 7 and the 5 to the other side, in which case you would have gotten negative 7x squared plus 10x plus 5 equals 0. And then you would have told me a is negative 7, b is 10, and c is 5. Both of these answers are perfectly acceptable. Does not matter which one you give, just make sure you show your work and show me where you're getting your numbers from.